This moon is in the comfortable position of being in its own sign of rulership, and there's a focus on emotional security through accruing money and possessions. So this is a month where you may be focused on financial stability and ways to become more financially independent. That might mean looking at your current salary, what you charge for services, or fluctuations in income if you're self-employed or you're working part-time. So an increase or a decrease of money depends on your personal motivation and your ability to adapt to change. But you're cautious and you're practical this month in the pursuit of happiness and success. And for some of you, the consideration to create that secure material structure is because of the desire to purchase a home. And some of you may enjoy more freedom than you've had in the past. All indications are that your greatest success comes through developing independence and self-sufficiency. And if you fail to do that, the root is likely to be low self-worth, fear of failure, dependency on the validation of others, and being overly concerned about others' motivation. So independence is a major theme overall. But this influence can also manifest as being very judgmental of the establishment, or, on the other hand, to be judgmental of those who challenge the establishment. And for the public at large, that could mean angry groups in the community. Or maybe you're challenging social or business conventions and what's expected. So whatever side you land on, you can use intuition to fight for what you're passionate about. And maybe you're pushing yourself into a position of power through intense work. But the message is not to take yourself or matters too seriously. Lightening up just a bit will not depreciate the value of serious work. Now, the part of fortune is adding to the potency of Uranus. It's stimulating you to be more innovative, original, unique, and inventive. And during this cycle, you're going to work relentlessly toward an objective. And it's the area of life that Pluto rules in your natal chart. That would be Scorpio. For some of you, this will highlight gifts and talents connected to scientific technology and computers. It might express as original thinking in the arts or cuisine or care, self-care, or maybe you view your work as some kind of calling or mission. And there might be a connection to artificial intelligence or robotics or aerospace and people who work in those fields. Now, even though you want to break with tradition, the thoughts, comments, and advice of close family and close friends will be of great importance to you. Maybe you're thinking about history or events in the past, or a revival of old memories resurfaces, or maybe you receive a visit from a long-lost acquaintance. Some of you, maybe you're studying in the home, rearranging your environment, changing your residence, or you're suddenly making new contacts. With Pluto sitting at the top of this moon chart, there's going to be a dramatic rearranging of your career or your social status, maybe even a sudden claim to fame, or the emotional shock of an unwanted change in your status. Now, for some of you, maybe it's the desire to recuperate or regain health. Maybe you make a decision to undergo an operation or a change of therapy. So for some, this translates as either the attainment of recognition and power or sudden ruin through the misuse of power. So if it's the latter, you may be facing a crisis at a critical juncture in your life that brings a turn of your destiny because of some act of providence. So this is a cycle where you may be driven by intense inner transformation, dealing with power dynamics, and wanting to delve into hidden truths, those that are in the depths of your subconscious. And this process may force you to encounter power struggles, obsessive tendencies, or a need to explore the darker aspects of life. However, if you're seeking freedom at all costs, be aware that you may make some rash decisions without giving proper forethought. The tendency can be to overreact quickly and forcibly in rebellion against anybody that's trying to restrain you. Maybe this is in response to some unsettling financial conditions or simply because of an obstinate nature. So this is a cycle where you can, do things and act in unexpected ways. Maybe you decide to suddenly get married or you suddenly decide to separate. Some of you, maybe you have to take a trip or communicate regarding matters that have to do with concern for the health and welfare of a sibling. Now, additionally, the axis that represents your values versus those of others, your income, your possessions versus jointly held assets, is under stress, with the possibility for some difficulties, some fated events, or some situations for which you have no control. And this might provoke a disagreement over joint finances, insurance settlements, alimony, taxes, or inheritance. It is the end of some kind of monetary cycle, a connection to debt and real estate with a new financial cycle approaching. Still, the meaning for this moon is to achieve victory. And with the key word pitfalls, the caution is to avoid potential problems before they occur. Now, Mars does lend some support, possibly through male figures, particularly those with strong Virgo in the natal chart. In some instances, assistance comes as an opportunity that you've cultivated. In fact, you might take a justified risk to provoke some new possibilities. And there's also a helpful influence from Venus that ensures safety and happiness. So this will bring some gifts, favors, could bring love, attractions, a marriage. There's an emphasis on young women, all things feminine, and perhaps art and social events. So during this period, you may be drawn to relationships that feel fated, and this could bring a memorable encounter, even if that's short-lived. It could be a business partner, might open some new doors for you. But strange or unusual people could enter your life, people so different that you wonder perhaps why you're together. But the reason they're there are to show you a way of seeing the world in ways you never imagined. So opposition can become a compromise if you're willing to give up a bit of resistance toward others. Now, the cards assigned to this moon are the King of Cups, with the Two of Cups working in service of this king. So strong water energy that brings in emotional developments linked to supportive partnerships, creative alliances, and connections with agents or persons acting in your best interest, those willing to accept extra responsibility. This could be a father figure, a negotiator, a trusted advisor, someone in a helping profession like a doctor or judge, or maybe it's an artist, a counselor, or just a good friend. It could be your partner. So this is a month where your attachment to others, based on what you feel you receive in your exchanges, will either increase or decrease. And you'll also embody the traits of this king this month, and it's an ability to shift, to change with the circumstance that helps you rise to the top. In fact, you might have an unusual approach to accomplishing something or outmaneuvering rivals. The King of Cups is a laid-back energy that allows you to receive more by doing less. And so plans seem to just fall into place the way you want. Others support your agenda. They comply with your special requests. So to that end, you could receive good news from people at a distance, either personally or professionally. Now, on a personal note, you might be very attracted to someone, or you start to realize that you have deep feelings for someone, deeper than you may have recognized previously, especially if you've been going solo for a while. So this is a month that heightens the desire for connection, and on whatever level, you'll want to impress someone or improve a situation, or maybe preserve your position, defend your beliefs, or destroy the opposition if you feel that that's necessary. It all comes down to how you feel and how willing you are to understand the vantage point of others. Now, if there's been a violation of trust that has caused you to have doubts about loyalty or sincerity, you could start to become increasingly suspicious, to the point that someone you once felt was a vital part of your life is now starting to get under your skin. In those instances, things will tend to get complicated with others. And if you're the violator, others will see through your disingenuous intent and vote against your agenda. On the other hand, maybe you're so consumed with connection that you start to make choices for companionship that are actually against your better judgment. Now, when we look at the clarifiers, we see evidence of the themes mentioned: profound changes, getting help, giving help, or the willingness to help. Looking at exchanges for fairness and having a strong sense of purpose in order to give birth to ideas, opportunities, projects, relationships, children. In some cases, this might even be something that you were ready to give up on. With the Death card, these events can be motivated by something intense or stressful. Maybe it's a connection to a Scorpio person, their sun, their moon, or rising sign, or issues related to those jointly held resources, or maybe debts, investments, insurance, or inheritance. Alternatively, it may be issues surrounding sexuality or surgery, cosmetic surgery, or psychological issues that are in focus. But again, having to consider the values of others. Now, beneath the Death card, we have Bluff, which suggests that making changes could require that you put yourself in some unfamiliar territory in order to advance. It's the calculated risk I spoke of earlier to provoke advancement, that in effect, you bluff your way into the initial stages of something, not to be dishonest, but because of the necessity to enter the game. If you will put a skill to use, whether it's for the first time or you've had years of experience under your belt, you have to start somewhere. So you may need to impress someone with your knowledge. And that may be giving a lecture or talking to a group, or maybe you're in negotiations, perhaps discussions that center on business or legal affairs. And with the Six of Pentacles, you are putting affairs in order. The daily routine, matters to do with health, how you run your life. And you'll do this by clarifying obligations and improving procedures. But you're also looking at that give and take dynamic, whether you're receiving crumbs, being passed over for recognition or a promotion or attention or whatever it is. The issue of shared resources could mean that someone is holding on to something that belongs to you, and they're just breaking it off in little pieces to give it to you, or they're breadcrumbing you, or they're helping you but keeping you at their mercy. So the question is, what do you have to do to get what you need? Do you find yourself continuously on your knees, begging and at the mercy of someone else? Are your needs dependent on the generosity, the moods, or the whims of someone else? Now, it could be you're involved with helping the less fortunate or some kind of charitable endeavor where you're giving your resources, your time, your money, your energy, your knowledge to assist. Beneath the Six of Pentacles, we have rebellion, and again, a recurrence of the concept of independence. In the best way, you improve the efficiency of a situation by turning the way you look at it on its head. So for some of you, there's a need for a drastic change of thought. Maybe that's, leading a protest. We've all seen that in the political arena recently. Or maybe it's anger over indifference to suffering or how someone is acting or, the cause of you being passed over. Or maybe you could be expressing your dissatisfaction with authority, even on a personal level. So it's also the courage to be different, because this is a cycle where innovation furthers progress. And last, we have the Empress with strong ties to a Taurus person. Could be their sun, their moon, or their rising sign. And her presence here brings some luck. It brings opportunity, better communication, as long as you persist in practical effort to grow, and to grow something that means a great deal to you. With that card, we have friendship, and friends could play a vital role in helping further a goal. So this is a powerful clarifier because it's actually the moon in Cancer, the cycle that we're in. So the moon in Cancer will give some heightened sensitivity to the thoughts and feelings of others. And that could mean you're offering a shoulder to cry on, or you're giving a listening ear to someone, a close friend or a family member or a distant relation. For some of you, this energy surrounds important family gatherings or celebrations or anniversaries. And the Death card might also put a focus on the inheritance of family heirlooms or a big change like moving house. So with family emphasized, you might be looking at, a family history or issues of genealogy, or if health is what's in focus, maybe it's, an illness that's hereditary. Now, Cancer also has a correspondence to the public at large. And together with the Empress, it can give you some very shrewd business ability, particularly for those who want to launch out on their own. So this is a cycle about achieving victory, where emotional events unfold in open view that tie to success and recognition. You need to play to win, but focus your effort on worthy goals and challenge yourself. So things will tend to happen quickly and unexpectedly, and that's important because the key word again is pitfall. And it has to do with taking too much notice of reports and moving forward before you've obtained enough evidence related to the risk you're about to take. So there's a difference between, or possibly a difference between what's reported versus actual evidence. And if you don't get over that tendency to mistake the difference, you're going to be led to famine, somewhere empty, rather than the plenty you thought you'd receive. But there are positive responses regarding love and marriage and the achievement of a goal. This time period can signify a literal victory, whether it's a lawsuit, a contest, or a sporting event. But you do need to rein in any impulses that cause you to run rampant with power, where you gloat or you take pleasure in seeing others suffer or lose. This is about a noble win where your actions are governed by reason and generosity.